Okay, so now that we have the balls bouncing off of the guys, the little aliens, we now need to just make them control missiles. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create our main missile. So we're going to create a new sprite. And for our missiles, we're going to use something straight is very helpful. So we're going to use the paddle right here. And we're going to make it really small. It's too big again, so maybe 40% size. Yeah, that looks about right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say that this is the main missile here. Whenever a ball hits this guy, hits this point, we want to actually make a new one of these and shoot them out. So the first thing we want to do, let's just hit stop here, is we want to say, what is this point? This point is it is 9x and negative 128y. So let's just keep that here, 9, negative 128. So we're going to say when this, but they all start at that point. That's not going to work very well. Let me just think for a second. Okay, so we're going to say when they're touching this. All right, sorry, I'm thinking sort of to myself. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if the ball is touching this building. So when I start as a clone, I'm looking at the ball now, I'm going to check something forever. And forever, if I am touching the building, so if I'm touching this thing, if touching, so that's in sensing, or sensing, there it is. So if touching building, then I want to do something. So I'm going to make a clone of myself, or make a clone of missile. So I'm going to make a clone of the missile. So that's under control. Hopefully I can make a clone of the missile. I think I can. Yep. Create a clone of paddle. And then delete myself. So delete the ball. Because there's no, once I've already created a clone of the paddle, that's all I need to do. Create a clone of the paddle. Let's see, I need to delete the ball, which is going to be in control. Delete this clone. So I did these two things. If I'm touching the building, create a clone of paddle, and then delete this clone. Oh, I forgot one other thing, which is I need to tell the paddle which way to fly. Now, every ball has an angle and a direction of flight. So you can always tell an item's direction by going here and saying, well, what is my direction? So it can report its own direction. So if you say, what is my direction, each time it will tell you which way it's pointing. So remember, the parent ball is pointing in the direction 90 right now. But each clone, when I start as a clone, we can say if touching if touching building, create a clone of paddle. And then we're going to use this tool here, which is the direction of the ball, and we're going to create a new variable. So we're going to go to variables, and we'll say make a variable, and this is going to be direction for missile. So it is going to set direction for missile to this, which is the direction of the bouncing ball, which is bouncing back, plus 180 degrees, because we want it to go the opposite direction. So we're going to say, do some math here, which is an operator. So we're going to say plus, and this one's plus 180, so it's going to turn around. So for a moment, it's going to set this variable to some weird number, okay? Every time the ball bounces back. Now, it's also creating a clone of the paddle. It actually better set the direction first before it creates a clone. I'll show you why in a second. Because we're going to use this direction Okay, so it's going to set the direction, it's going to create the clone, and then it's going to delete this clone. Now, if we go to paddle, we're going to say when I start as a clone, first thing I want it to do is I want it to go to this point right here. So it's going to go to the little dot at the top. So we'll go to motion, and you can go to other objects. So it's going to go to ball, which is always the parent. So it's going to go to the parent ball, which is right there. I want it to point in direction. I'm going to use the variable I just created. So it's going to point in direction for missile, and then it's going to forever fly. And we'll just use a motion, which is move 10 steps. Okay, so let's see what happens if we do this. Okay, that comes there, and it's shooting off missiles. Now, the missiles are just getting stuck on the edges. That's the same thing that happened with our balls before, right? So move 10 steps, and then we can also say if on edge, delete. So if touching edge, which is in sensing. So if touching edge, and don't worry, I know I'm doing everything for you, but I'm going to give you some challenges in a second. If touching edge, then delete this clone. Now what we're deleting, of course, is the missile. So we are deleting the missile after it gets to the edge. So now let's see if that works. Great, and when they get to the edge, they delete. Okay, they don't delete the spaceships yet, but we are in fact shooting a lot of missiles based on the balls coming back and bouncing at the little guys. All right, perfect. Now we don't want this guy to show at all. This is the parent right here, so we want the parent to be hidden. So we can go ahead to our control, or it's events rather, sorry, and then say when I start up, please hide. And if we do that, then all the missiles will be hidden, and there'll never be any missiles that you can see. So then we have to say, when I start as a clone, please set, or please show. So looks, and when I start as a clone, let's go to show. And voila. All right, pretty good. So that's the next phase, which is to get the missiles to shoot. Now, the missiles aren't doing anything yet. I also don't want this to be permanently displayed, so I'm going to go back to variables and uncheck this, direction for missile. And that is how you get missiles to fly.